He is stronger than the 13 heroes 1/4. They didn't appear in my domain, I said with a frown, seeing how I truly killed them. I killed them so good, that Death's almighty skill didn't kick in and absorb them into my domain. I narrowed my eyes, searching for their concept. Anos was able to see the source concept of people, and even bring them back to life within 3 seconds without problems after they died with their source. Thanks to my skills, I could be able to bring them back to life within 10 seconds. Their concept still exists, just broken down to a level almost impossible to see, I said while having to use Death's almighty to locate their concept. Their concept still exists, for their memory still exists. This was something I have always believed in, for one never truly dies so long as the world remembers them. Therefore, I believe the concept of a person is never truly erased so long as they are remembered. And I was right. For with the state their concept was in, destroying them, even more, would have meant erasing the very memory the world held of them. Live. My voice boomed, while I reached forward, grabbing the 13 broken concepts, and using my power of death, I multiplied death against each other, birthing life which I used to bring them all back to life. The 13 were alive before me, even someone like Carrie was brought back along with her gear. I sighed lightly at this and was feeling my MP, which was at 1% right now. Game over used up a lot of MP, and it used up even more MP using Death's almighty instant death and multiplying them against each other to create life, in order to create a resurrection spell capable of overpowering game over resurrection negation. W were alive. In the crater that was created after everything had died, the 13 members of the Black Scripture lay, too shocked for words. They looked at me, only to see me looking down upon them. Thank you for freeing us. With the mind control they were under long gone, they bowed before me, both in fear of my power and in worship. After all, they have been worshipping the players for so long, without mind control, how could they not drop to their feet in worship to the player who freed them? Oh, I didn't save you all out of the kindness of my heart, I said evilly, the flames which took the place of my eyes burning brightly. I need a research subject, and you would all do perfectly, I said while killing them all with a spell. I closed my eyes, sensing how their knowledge and wisdom flew through my mind as they all entered my domain. This was a new skill I learned, why waste time speaking to them if I could just scan their minds to absorb their experience and make it my own? He was a demigod. I thought in interest, for the captain of this group had the blood of players flowing through him. I had to let Demiurge deal with him to see if that made him special. A few of them were also best suited to go with Demiurge, I'm sure he would have better stuff to do with them than me. Live, I said while turning around and walking off, bringing them back to life in the state they were in wasn't as taxing as before, so even with the current amount of MP I had, it was more than enough. The captain, Carrie, the one known as the strongest human, the assassin, the chain user, and the shield user. I leave them all to Demiurge to do as he wishes, the captain is the descendant of a player, so have him see if he can be useful. I said to Albedo, who bowed with a deep loving smile. As for the rest, they would stay here. I will come here to train with them from time to time. So keep them in good condition. Although do take the world item off the old hag, and have someone go to the slain theocracy. Have them know I demand answers for what happened today. To be safe, have someone go there. I said, to which Albedo nodded, happy to get orders. I will leave everything to you, speak with Demiurge to ensure your plans go well, I said before going off to recover my lost MP. While doing so, my mind was filled with the countless paths ahead of me. The slain theocracy exploded into chaos, the weather covering the capital completely changed, and dark clouds filled the air. From those dark clouds, thousands upon thousands of demonic things appeared. These things were black and had countless faces that seemed to be screaming in unending suffering. Foolish weak ones. I come bearing a message from the Great One. Your foolish members of the Black Scripture dared to step foot in the home of the Great One. They are all facing their due punishment, but as the owner of those dogs, the ultimate blame falls upon you. They said all at once, their voice uniting as one, which sent chills down all who heard. At those words, the cardinals' faces dropped. Cardinals are the highest appointment holders of the 6 sects that are devoted to the 6 gods. The position of a cardinal is higher than that of a representative of governmental affairs. There were a total of 6 beings, all horrified by the news they heard. You have 3 days to arrive before the Great One, failure to do so shall be met with the destruction of the slain theocracy. With those words, from the heavens, a paper shot down, landing before one of the cardinal feet. The cardinal looked down and saw that the paper was a map, pointing towards where the location they were supposed to go was. That means they hold the treasures of the gods. What should we do? A few minutes later, the cardinals sat at a round table, horror filling their eyes as they tried to find the right move to make. We have no choice but to go. If the black scripture offended this being, and they were all taken out, we need to avoid making this being our enemy until we have more information. The head of the state, Pontifex Maximus, said seriously. Should we ask for help from the dragons? The Cardinal of Fire asked with an unsure look, and at those words, everyone paused before nodding slowly. Yes, tell the Platinum Dragon Lord that this Great One might be a player. Since he is one of the strongest beings in this world. Knowing him, he would test their strength, have Anteline be on standby to get the treasures. Pontifex said lightly, unsure if they should let their trump card go on this mission. Anteline Heron Fouché is someone equal to a level 80 player born with one of the most overpowered talents in this world. Yes, they were unwilling to let her go and risk her death. But it would be meaningless if the enemy kept the world item. Those world items were too good to stay in their hands. Inform the Dragon Empire that we can't help them against the Beast Man country. Tell them to hold on until this matter is over with, Pontifex said, gritting his teeth at how bad the timing was. They were supporting the Dragon Empire against their battle with the Beast Man, while at the same time, they had to fight the elves, and now they had to deal with something else. Momen, there is someone who came to see you. Back in Erantel, I was currently trying out the many drinks of this world. Some taste good, and some are disgusting. I found some that were as good as the drink in Nazarick and some that were not worth my time. Oh, who might it be? I asked calmly. I had on my armor at the moment. I didn't like the many eyes I drew in my human form. I looked at Britta, who had called for me, and my eyes landed on a group of all 5 females. I of course knew who they were. They were known as Blue Roses. Blue Roses were the second Adamantite adventurer group to have been founded within the Re-Estais Kingdom after Red Drop. The group is all female and is thusly comprised of just women. 23 comments, 0 vote. He is stronger than the 13 heroes, 2 quarters. We are Blue Rose. We were tasked to come look for Clementine and Kajiat. We first wanted to speak with the person who defeated the 2. The leader of Blue Rose was a beautiful blonde-haired woman with beautiful blue eyes. If you're looking to hunt them down, all you need to do is give me a few more hours, I said while pulling out a compass, which caught the 5 interest. This item would track the person down whose blood is dropped on it. But it needs 24 hours to do so. So, in a few hours, I should be able to track down those 2 with the help of this item, unless they have something strong enough to block it. I said while passing the item on to them. I see, the leader of Blue Roses said while giving the compass to a lowly to use her magic on, and after a moment she nodded as my words were true. You guys shouldn't join in this battle. For the 2 will not be easy to deal with. Kajiat, for example, should have gotten enough energy to summon more skeleton dragons. Leave it to me and my partner. Where is Toph? I asked, seeing as Toph was nowhere to be seen. She is with Ninya, Britta said in a soft voice, surprising me that Toph had a friend. Good for Toph. What do you mean? The leader of Blue Roses asked with a serious look while giving me back the compass. Well, Kajiat was equipped with an orb that stores negative energy to summon skeleton dragons. He used up all of its energy, but I sensed how the orb was somehow quickly recovering its energy and growing stronger. I said as if I didn't stop time during my battle, and went on to speak with the orb. And give it a bit of my power. I see. Either way, we can't let you do this on your own, the leader of Blue Roses said while looking at me seriously, and to that I nodded while removing my helmet, stunning all 5 of them with my charm. Then, it would be a pleasure working with you all. I'm Momen. I said while holding out my palm, and the leader of Blue Roses took my palm with a blank look while looking at me. I'm a pleasure to meet you too. I mean, I'm Lachias Alvain Dale Indra. It's a pleasure to meet you. She said in a panic, her face turning bright red. She died a little inside, and seeing my speechless look, she wanted to just die right there. Damn, you're all right. A woman with a physique that put males to shame said with a speechless look while looking at Lachias. But Lachias gave her a death glare, not wanting to hear her say anything to make things worse right now. Seeing that, the woman known as Gagarum backed down. I'm Gagarum, so are you as good in bed as you look? She asked, leaving me speechless once more. Lachias quickly pulled her away, before bowing and apologizing, which I waved off. I'm Evely. The lowly said emotionlessly, to which I nodded towards her with a kind smile. Tina. Oh, there were also twins here. Tina was the one with her hair in a ponytail using a red string. Tia. The other twin had her hair in a ponytail using a blue string. They were both beautiful, they had coral eyes and blonde hair. They had on clothing that showed they were assassins. I guess I should go over everything I know about those two while I wait for night to come, I said, to which they nodded. We sat down, and I went on to explain everything I noticed in that battle. Simple stuff really, like their weaknesses, some movements they made that would leave them open for a counterattack, and many more. He noticed all this while fighting two skeleton dragons, Kajiat, and Clementine by himself. Emily's eyes were wide behind the mask. Oh, she had a mask that hid her face, she also had red robes which covered her head and whole body. He should be on the level of the 13 heroes. Who was he? How could someone so powerful be unknown? Emily thought, growing on guard. So, how many skeleton dragons do you think we might have to face? Lakis asked seriously, to which I thought for a second before speaking. I have no idea, that orb was growing stronger. At worst 10, and best 3. Well, at worst it would be more than 10. I would have to get serious if I wished to fight them. I said, and oddly Emily took that last part seriously. While waiting for the 24 hours to be done, we talked. Well, more like they talked to me. Evelise tried to know who I was, Lucas tried to be my friend, with the twins barely speaking from time to time. Gagaron tried to get in my pants, and honestly, I wasn't against that idea. I had no plans of her entering my harem. But I wanted to know how sex with someone of her build would be. But that was for later in the future. Toph also soon arrived with the members of Swords of Darkness. By the way, the group's name was based on its dream of collecting the Swords of Darkness, heroic weapons that were used by the Black Knight. Is that the cursed sword Kiliniram? Peter seemed to turn into a fangirl as he saw Lachias. His words drew my confusion, and seeing Lachias' awkward reaction, I guess this was something impressive. She had the sword. I just thought that was a cool-looking sword. Mind if I look at the sword? I asked in interest, to which Lakis paused at my words. Kiliniram is regarded as one of the strongest blades among the Swords of Darkness. Lachias believed that only a woman of faith like her could suppress this weapon's demonic power. But in truth, the sword wasn't truly cursed. It was a delusion Lachias held. What do you mean you sense no curse? Lachias asked while looking towards Evely, who nodded for her to give me the sword. I took the sword and closely studied the sword before I channeled my magical power into the sword. We were outside, so I had no worries as I swung the sword into the air, unleashing an attack that Lachias would normally need a few seconds to launch, but I launched it within an instant. Interesting, I said while giving her back the sword. Everyone looked towards me, wanting to know what I found out. But I pulled out my long sword. This is also an evil cursed sword. It should be on a tier greater than yours. I said, stunning Lachias, who put her sword away and uneasily took my sword. And she was hit with the evilness the sword held. I looked at this sight in interest, for my sword was just made out of high-quality ore. There was no curse here. I will not fall to your evil. Lachias roared, gritting her teeth and using everything she had to fight back against the curse. Gagarum and the others grew uneasy, but Evely and I stopped them, simply watching as Lachias slowly took over the evil sword, although she fell to one knee, out of breath. What a powerful cursed sword, Lachias said, sweat raining down her head. Everyone was amazed, well, almost everyone, as I had a confused and speechless look behind my helmet, while Evely's eyes were locked on me, wanting to know what I found out. You're indeed powerful, such a pure soul is rare, I said lightly, to which Lachias smiled pridefully. She has two personalities, one is pure as snow, and the second seems to be evil. Interesting, it would be easy to get her to join my harem. I thought, seeing as she had already fallen for me. Once that pure soul of hers tasted sin, she would quickly fall to the dark side. He is truly amazing, to hold those two swords. Lachias' eyes were filled with love, how couldn't she? She took pride in her pure nature, she would of course be drawn over to someone with a similar nature to hers. Well, we should get ready to head off. Britta, you should stay back. I said calmly, to which Britta nodded, she didn't need to be told twice. I called for the wise king of the forest, something which shocked the members of Blue Roses. Is that the wise king of the forest? Truly a mighty creature, Lachias said with wide eyes, seeing such a mighty being. She would of course look at my pet with such a gaze since they were about the same level. 0 comments, 0 vote. He is stronger than the 13 heroes, 3/4. So, all we have to do is put on this little act. Kajiat, who was holding the orb of death, asked in shock. Indeed, with this, you would be able to become something stronger than an elder lich. The orb of death said, making Kajiat grin in excitement. He looked towards Clementine. Although they had lost limbs during their battle last night, they had healed. Turned out the Orb of Death had such power. Kajiat never knew that the Orb of Death had a will, but with it now awakening and giving so much power to work with, he was sure he was unstoppable. That bastard in the armor is going to pay, Clementine said with a twisted grin. Only a few people in this world should be able to defeat her. Yet a new guy defeated her, even when she had the upper hand. But this time she was sure they could win. The orb says they are coming, Kajiat said while looking around, seeing how the sea of undead around him was growing restless. He could control all of the undead thanks to the Orb of Death. This orb truly made him an overlord of death. What a pain it would be to deal with such a sea of undead, I said while watching Toph easily kill hundreds of undead with every step she took. This sight shook Lakis and the other, for Toph Earth's magic was like nothing they had ever seen. I was worried for a moment, these many undead would have tired us out, Lakis said with a sigh of relief seeing how capable Toph's magic was. So, you dare to come here searching for round 2? Kajiat asked while stepping forward, his eyes burning in rage remembering the injury he suffered at my hands. Wow, to remain so arrogant after fleeing with your tail between your legs, you have my respect, I said with a smirk, and Kajiat's face twisted at my words. Just as he was about to act, Evely took the opening to try and kill him, only for a dragon palm to burst out of the ground, nullifying her spell. Last time you only faced a fragment of my true power. This time, I will go all out. Kajiat said with a grin, before bursting into the sky, riding on top of a skeleton dragon which was joined with not 2, not 3, not 5, but 14 skeleton dragons. Why so quiet? Clementine showed herself, a twisted smile imprinted on her face seeing how I along with everyone else was too stunned for words. I thought I only gave that orb enough negative energy to summon like 8 skeleton dragons. Oh wait, Kajiat could have lessened the cost to summon them by using existing bones. I thought seeing as the skeleton dragon was made out of a sea of bones. Work on killing Kajiat, I will deal with as many skeleton dragons as I can, I said while stepping forward, and using all of the martial arts I had, along with some new ones I had created for myself. Ability boost, body strengthening, capacity building, flow acceleration, focus battle aura, greater ability boost. Greater body strengthening, greater capacity building. And the list went on. I buffed myself up until I could rival someone at level 41. I wasted no time, bursting into the sky, where I slammed a dragon to the ground. This caused all of the remaining 13 dragons to attack me, but with skillful movement, I avoided, blocked, and countered all of their attacks. There were too many, which gave me little time to attack, but my strength which was greater than yesterday scared Kajiat who ordered the skeleton dragons to attack, while he stayed out of harm's way on top of one skeleton dragon, watching everything from a safe distance. Members of Blue Rose moved in to fight Clementine, but Clementine being someone whose level was above theirs wasn't so easy to handle. Adding the fact one of the 14 skeleton dragons flew down to help Clementine, and that skeleton dragons had complete immunity against magic, they were being overwhelmed. He can take on 12 of these all by himself, yet we're struggling to handle one. Lakis thought through gritted teeth. She thanked Toph who was controlling the ground, moving them around, and also weakening the ground under the skeleton dragon so that the dragon could lose balance. Even Toph's manipulation of the earth was nullified by the dragon. Moment, Evely cried seeing me get hit from behind and be sent rocketing towards the ground. She shot towards me, but by the time she landed near me, she saw I was standing up, the only thing damaged being my armor. I'm alright. I nodded towards her, to which Evely nodded with relief, for she didn't see another way we could win this without me. I wasted no time, bursting into the sky, this time Evely casting spells on me, further increasing my strength before she shot off to fight Kajiat, who kept hiding behind the skeleton dragon, something which annoyed Evely for she could easily defeat Kajiat, but the dragon immunity to magic was the strongest defense Kajiat had. Evely could cast spells up to the 5th tier, but even that wasn't enough to defeat the skeleton dragon. Growing annoyed, realizing that all of this was pointless so long as Kajiat lived, she looked down, and seeing Tia, she shot down to pick her up. Quickly explaining her plan, she shot into the sky, and quickly neared Kajiat before she threw Tia at Kajiat after distracting the skeleton dragon with a spell aimed towards Kajiat. This opening allowed Tia to land on the back of the skeleton dragon and shoot towards Kajiat. You bitch, Kajiat cast spells, attacking Tia who dodged all of the attacks while shooting towards Kajiat. Holding her daggers, she jumped towards Kajiat, aiming for his head. A mage's greatest weakness is close-range combat. Kajiat smirked, as he jumped at the last moment. At that moment the skeleton dragon flipped over, sending Tai falling toward the ground. But while falling to her death, she threw a dagger towards Kajiat. Kajiat barely dodged, leading to his ear being pierced. Kajiat didn't even have time to think as the skeleton dragon took him, flying into the sky to dodge Evely, who had no choice but to ignore him and fly after Tia. But would Kajiat let that happen? Evely was forced to dodge a huge powerful tail which would have sent her flying far away, but this caused Evely's eyes to widen in horror as Tia was going to hit the ground. When was the last time she felt horror and unease for others? Evely didn't know, but she shot down with everything she had, trying her best to reach Tia. But panic like this in battle was bad, for she got distracted. Her eyes widened as a huge dragon claw came shooting towards her. She could only watch as she was sure to be hit. But something she never expected followed. A raven black long sword cut through the claw. Her eyes widened as she watched me burst forward, kicking off the dragon limb, and bursting towards the ground at blinding speed. Tia reached out, taking my outstretched hand before I quickly flipped her over, hugging her tightly as I hit the ground hard. Tia was sure she would suffer heavy injuries, the armor wasn't soft so the impact should kill her. But she was shocked to find the armor absorb the impact, saving her from harm. Thank you, Tia said, to which I waved her words off. No need for thanks, I said calmly while getting up, frowning at the fact I might have gone overboard with all of this. How was I going to deal with the problems that I had caused? I can walk, Tia said, unable to control her blush. I jumped lightly at her words, quickly putting her down while apologizing, before taking my swords. Momen. We can't win, Evely said lightly. You're right, but I could. Toph, take them all away, I called out, and at my order, the ground came to life, taking hold of the member of Blue Roses. Evely attempted to dodge, but she was too slow. Don't die, Toph said, and I was impressed she was improvising. I secretly gave her a thumbs up inside. Don't worry, I don't plan on dying anytime soon, I said with a smile, to which Toph said nothing, not expecting me to say so much. Instead, she took everyone with her, although Lakis and the others were against this as they couldn't just leave like this. Haha. You think you can just escape? Kajiat paused in his words as my armor began falling apart, falling to the ground, with the two long swords transforming, becoming white swords that were completely white. Anos magic is broken, reshaping matter, and enchanting it without even blinking, I thought while lightning covered my body, the weather transforming while I floated into the sky. My long white hair floated madly in the air, with my cultivation clothing seemingly giving off a magical glow at this moment. Momen armor acts as a seal which prevents him from using too much power. This is his full power, Toph said, stunned for a second after hearing my voice inside her mind, but she told everyone what I told her to say. Such power, Evely's eyes widened, for at this moment, she felt like I was at level 60, 10 levels above her. 5 comments 0 vote. He is stronger than the 13 heroes 4 quarters. I used AI in this chapter to try and improve my writing, what's your thoughts? Was it good or should I never do this again? This is a way to increase my world count. So who knows? Toph sent everyone far away, and from a distance, they watched as the skeleton dragons merged into a colossal, formidable creature. This being was unmistakably at level 80, a sight that crushed Evely's hopes of winning. It bore the power of evil deities, and it would take the combined strength of all 13 heroes to even stand a chance against it. Not to mention, it was completely immune to magic. But then they witnessed something incredible. I shot into the sky, crackling with lightning that lit up the horizon and struck the skeleton dragon with an unmatched force. The deafening sound made them cover their ears as the dragon crashed to the ground, shaking the very earth beneath them. Yet, in a shocking display, the skeleton dragon rose unscathed and retaliated fiercely. The battle raged on for hours, utterly obliterating everything in the forest and leaving a wasteland in our wake. It was a spectacle beyond anything they had ever laid eyes on, showcasing the absolute might of a warrior at level 80. A few hours back. Do you think you can stop us all by yourself? Clementine asked with a cold smirk while sizing me up and down. She licked her blades, eyeing me up and down, almost seemingly getting turned on by the very concept of stabbing me. Haha, you'll find that I'm more than enough. Well, let me fully introduce myself to you fools, I said, ensuring that Evely and the others couldn't see what was happening. Once I was ready, my flesh began to drop to the ground, blood horrifyingly splattering over the ground. But I stood there, my devilish aura sending chills down their spines. It was then that Kajiat and Clementine finally understood something: they couldn't win. Every inch of their being screamed at them to flee, even the undead they had summoned gathered behind me. The skeleton dragons submitted before me. The Ent possessed another unique skill, Undead Tamer. Undead Tamer, as the Lord of Death, how could the undead ever oppose you? They revere you and fulfill your commands because you are the source of their power. Do you understand, Khajiit? I granted you my power last night, I said as the orb of death slipped from Khajiit's hands, floating into my palm. You exist because I intended to forge the perfect hero, one whom the people would turn to for protection, a champion who would secretly serve my ambitions, I stated firmly as Khajiit fell to his knees, trembling, pressing his head hard against the ground, tears streaming down his face. You both stand at a crossroads today, with two distinct paths waiting for you to choose. Submit, or die. I looked at the horrified Clementine, who quickly joined Khajiit. When confronting death, no matter how ill one may be, fear is a natural response. Only a handful of people can laugh in the face of death, and those individuals are usually the ones who have nothing left to live for. Like in the anime, Clementine wanted to live. Despite the pain she had caused, when it was her turn, she was no different from the people she took pleasure in watching die slowly and painfully. I remained silent while extending my palm, summoning a powerful lightning-type creature. I then seized its source concept and amplified it, imbuing the summon with strength to rival that of a level 80 being. I had the summoned creature battle with the 14 skeleton dragons, making sure the fight was as dramatic as possible. When it became clear that the skeleton dragons would lose, I had them fuse together to form a single, powerful dragon. This led to an epic battle between the newly formed giant dragon and the summon, a spectacle that astonished the world. You two may raise your heads, I said calmly, ignoring the occasional earthquakes. The two looked up, shocked to see that I was alive. My capabilities extend beyond the concept of death. They also encompass the essence of life. I possess authority over both domains. Therefore, I encourage you to articulate your perspective. What drives your actions? I inquired with composure while taking my place in a chair that I had just materialized. That above was too much, it made me sick. I wish to become a powerful undead so that one day I can bring my mother back to life, Khajiit said softly, his voice tinged with longing. Growing up in a poor household, he turned to magic, focusing on necromancy, driven by the hope of resurrecting his beloved mother. Yet, somewhere along the way, he lost his path. Now, consumed by his desire to reunite with her, he aims to bring her back as an undead. However, he realizes that first, he must become undead himself, so he can continue this journey and hold on to his dreams of seeing her again. I see. I nodded thoughtfully, my gaze shifting toward Clementine. She stood quietly, a mixture of uncertainty and confusion etched across her face, clearly reluctant to voice her thoughts. The silence between us deepened, as it was evident she was grappling with her feelings, unsure of why she had acted the way she did. The origins of her struggles can be traced back to her older brother. He received all the attention from their parents, leaving her feeling ignored. Yearning for recognition, she tried desperately to be the perfect daughter. However, over time, the pressure to gain her parents' approval took a toll. Eventually, her relentless pursuit of their attention and her attempt to fulfill their expectations led her down a dark path. It doesn't really matter what drives your actions, I said, my voice firm yet welcoming as I approached the two of them. With a deliberate motion, I lowered myself to one knee, eager to meet their eyes and convey my sincerity. What truly matters is that, from this moment on, you're my people. I will love you both as if you were my own creation. So go and retrieve my mother's remains. I will bring her back to life, I said with a gentle smile. Why was I doing this? It was simple. Khajiit could be transformed into a powerful, loyal necromancer capable of creating armies of the undead for me. Once his mother was brought back to life, he would have no choice but to be loyal to me. As for Clementine, I had explored the depths of her memories, unearthing the origins of her troubles. Deep down, she craved love and affirmation, a gentle reassurance that she was inherently worthy just as she was. With that understanding, I knew she would give herself wholeheartedly to me. True to his nature, Khajiit dashed away, his excitement palpable as he couldn't bear the thought of waiting for his mother's return. In stark contrast, Clementine stood rooted to the spot, her eyes searching mine, filled with uncertainty and a hint of doubt about whether she could trust the assurances I was offering. Do you have any doubts about me? I asked in a light-hearted tone, noticing the uncertainty reflected in her eyes. She seemed taken aback for a moment, so I gently took her chin in my hand, encouraging her to look me in the eyes. In my eyes, all life is equal, I said, my voice steady and warm. If you question my intentions, it shows you don't trust me. But you must understand that, ultimately, all life will find its place in my hands. I will embrace every soul, just as I invite you into my embrace. Death is impartial, offering no judgments or opinions about our lives. Likewise, I find myself in a position where I refrain from passing judgment on others. She stood there, uncertainty flickering in her eyes like the last light of sunset. You see yourself as a broken thing, I continued gently, but I see you as one of my cherished children, someone who hasn't yet realized how profoundly special they truly are. As I spoke, my words wrapped around her like a comforting blanket, and I could see the transformation in her expression as she was moved to her core. Tears began to gather in her eyes, shimmering like dewdrops in the morning light. I pulled her into a hug, pouring all the warmth and affection into that moment that her parents had withheld from her for so long. She clung to me tightly, a fragile bird afraid to take flight, as if she feared that this moment of tenderness might vanish in an instant. While, a few minutes later, Kaji had returned a group of undead skeletons carrying the frozen remains of his mother. With the order, to live, the frozen remains of Kajiat's mother came back to life. And I was shocked that someone so beautiful gave birth to something so ugly. I instructed them to journey to Nazareth, and with a swift, graceful movement, Shaltir arrived to personally escort the three. As I shifted my focus back to the tumultuous battle raging in the sky above, I began to conjure a clone of myself. This replica bore the unmistakable signs of turmoil. Its form was marred with charred black marks, as if it had been scorched in a fiery blaze, creating a hauntingly vivid contrast against the clone's otherwise familiar features. It was a striking reminder of the chaos that surrounded us. Wait, could this be something akin to an avatar? I pondered, my gaze fixated on the life I had just conjured. As I observed the clone before me, an uncanny sensation washed over me. I felt a compelling urge to inhabit its form. The replica was strikingly similar to me in every detail, yet there was a vital difference. This version of myself was alive, its movements fluid and animated. However, I quickly realized that its prowess was confined, capped at a mere level 80, a limitation somehow contrasting with the vibrant spark of life it possessed. Well, let's start. I thought while bringing the battle to an end. He is winning, Evely exclaimed, her voice brimming with unexpected joy. The vibrant shift in her tone was startling, especially for Toph, who was accustomed to her usual emotionless, deadpan delivery. The contrast between her typical demeanor and the warmth in her words left her momentarily speechless, eyes wide in disbelief at this rare glimpse of emotion from the usually stoic Evely. Let's go. Toph exclaimed, her voice sharp and commanding. With a swift and graceful motion, she summoned the earth around them, sending a powerful wave of rocky debris shooting them toward the battlefield. As they soared through the air, the scene before them unfolded like a grim tapestry. The defeated skeleton dragon lay sprawled on the ground, its once mighty form slowly disintegrating into a pile of dust and bones. Atop the skeletal remains stood a figure cloaked in soot and ash, its skin charred from the fierce battle. In each hand, it gripped a pair of long, white swords that gleamed ominously in the fading light. It was unmistakably my clone, and the sight sent a chill of unease through the hearts of those who had come to witness this moment. Without hesitation, they dashed toward the corpse of the dragon, their eyes fixed on the still form of my clone, who had been momentarily balanced atop the crumbling monster. As the dragon's remains collapsed beneath him, my clone toppled downwards, and panic surged among the group. They rushed forward to catch him, a flurry of movement and desperate energy. He is still alive. Evely exclaimed, relief flooding her voice as she dashed to his side. She was quickly joined by Lakis, who began to weave intricate patterns of healing magic in the air, a shimmering glow enveloping them both as they sought to restore my clone to health. He will live, but that lightning inflicted devastating injuries upon him. He is the strongest individual I have ever encountered. This man possesses a strength that surpasses the combined might of the 13 legendary heroes, Evely remarked, her voice tinged with awe. What? Lachias gasped, her eyes widening in disbelief. She recognized the gravity of Evely's words. After all, Evely had once been one of the evil deities, her power feared and respected throughout the land. It was only through an intense confrontation that Evely had been forced to reconsider her path. Yes, the magic he wielded was entirely nullified, rendered ineffective by the skeleton dragon's remarkable immunity. I suspect he was channeling magic of the 7th tier or higher, but it came at a significant cost, Evely continued, her mind swirling in contemplation, as she grappled with the implications of such extraordinary power. Evely pondered deeply, her mind racing as she assessed the situation. He should be around level 90 or even higher, she mused, her gaze fixated on the charred visage before her, a mix of admiration and concern swirling in her heart. The skeleton dragons, formidable and fearsome, had not completely mastered immunity to magic. It appeared that 7th tier spells pierced their defenses. However, when these creatures fused together, their resistance surged, surpassing even the 7th tier. He is a hero, she thought, a flicker of warmth igniting within her as she took in the haunting beauty of his burnt black face, marred yet captivating, reflecting both strength and vulnerability. 5 comments 0 vote. Pissed. Download the app for additional rewards. More events, more perks. Winning you more free perks. Download now. Itachi 1010. Download app now. Chapter 24 Too sleepy to think of title. Welcome back my lord, Albedo said respectfully upon my arrival at Nazarick. I nodded lightly toward her while taking my throne. How are things going? I asked lightly while taking a seat. I left my avatar to deal with the whole fainted and badly injured stuff. I will be busy here. Kajiad would be turned into an overlord tomorrow and would begin creating an army of undead for you my lord. Although there is a limited number of undead he could create, we would equip him with gears and items that would make him the strongest necromancer. Albedo said, to which I nodded lightly for her to go on. Clementine is being trained, she would make a good cannon folder one day. Or maybe food for those of Nazarick who might feel hungry. Respectfully, I don't see the value in keeping her. Albedo said lightly. Kajiat, Albedo could understand, but for Clementine. That was another story. Clementine was weak. Never underestimate the distance someone seeking approval is willing to go. For now, she is a pawn, and with the heart and motivation she has to prove herself to me, she could do just about anything. I said lightly while looking at Demiurge, who entered the throne room with a bright smile. I haven't heard a report of the princess, how did things go? I asked calmly, to which Demiurge bowed deeply before the throne. My apologies my lord, I wished to tell you as soon as possible. He said respectfully, that the reason he didn't report sooner had to do with the new sheep I gifted him, and had him work on. Adding the fact I was out, he didn't have the chance to report to me. I'm not displeased, I know you were busy. It worries me that you might be overwhelmed, I said lightly, stunning Demiurge, who shook his head. Not at all my lord, it's my pleasure to be of service to you. I'm not worthy to receive such high concern from you, Demiurge said quickly, to which I nodded with a smile, moved by his love. The princess has fully submitted to Nazarick, she was more than willing to sell out her whole kingdom for the chance to be with her pet. The only thing human about her is her body, everything else makes her unique. Demiurge said, catching Albedo's interest as she didn't think a human could get Demiurge's approval like this. But I don't understand, my lord. How do you plan to make her your wife? Demiurge asked while looking at me in confusion, and at those words, my head fell to the side. Demiurge, you watch your tongue. Do you think that insect is worthy of Lord Ains? Albedo growled but paused when I raised my hand to quiet her down. What do you mean? I asked calmly. I thought Lord Ains wanted her as a wife. Why else go through the troubles when we can easily mind control her? Demiurge said with an uneasy voice. Why do you think I want a wife? I asked, to which Demiurge paused for a second, before slowly speaking. The mission of all life is to pass on their seeds. When you gained a life I wondered if you would have such an instinct as well, so I have been closely watching. When Lord Ains saw Lakis and the other members of Blue Roses, I knew then that you desired her. Demiurge said while lowering his head deeply, enduring Albedo's killing intent. The mission of all life is to pass on their seeds. I guess you're right, but I have been thinking of getting a wife long before then. If by chance one day I die, I wish to leave someone behind to hold all of you together. I'm sure a civil war might break out if one day I were to die. I would like to avoid that. I said lightly, shocking everyone, but before they could speak I had them all remain quiet. I have no interest in dying anytime soon, but there are no absolutes in this world, I said lightly, leaving all of them quiet. That was a cruel fact none of them wished to acknowledge, but it was the fact. I have also heard that a few of you desire for me to have a child, so I talked with Toph about this matter. You all wish for a younger sibling, and I would be lying if I'm not interested in the concept of having someone give birth to a child of mine, instead of creating them. I said lightly, shocking everyone. But I also have the uneasy feeling of you all feeling unloved. The last thing I would ever want is for you all to think I love my bio child over you, I said with a tired sigh, shattering the hearts of all who were in the throne room. My lord, please let this matter not weigh upon your mind anymore. The very thought that you care so much for our selfish desires shall forever warm my soul. Albedo said, moved to tears. Demiurge, along with the battle maids, were also in tears. Although I was confused as to how Demiurge was crying. He didn't have eyeballs. Loyalty and love for me is felt, and it moves me to no limit. But this reminds me of another matter. I wish for Cocytus to be more than simply a weapon that can't think, I want him to be able to think. I said calmly, leaving the two stunned for a moment. I understand, my lord. Do you have a target in mind? Demiurge asked, to which I nodded. The Dragon Kingdom seems to be facing some problems with the demi-humans. I plan to land support to them, and through that, we can make our moves to swallow them. But that's too far into the future. I will instead have Cocytus lead an army to conquer a lizard men village that was discovered by the Atomic Heart Twins. I will leave the test to you, Demiurge, to play out. Cocytus's goal is to conquer, and not slaughter. Have the lizard man unite to combat Cocytus. And Cocytus isn't allowed to step foot onto the battlefield. I said, to which Demiurge nodded. I shall go speak with the Golden Princess, then I will start working with the Baharuth Empire. Time that guy starts stressing, I said softly to myself, which drew the confusion of Demiurge and Albedo, but I teleported away without saying a word. Leaving them in deep thought about my plans. Renner Thyre Chardellen Ryle Vazelf is the third princess of the Re-Estais kingdom. While publicly known as the Golden Princess, she is actually a yandere infatuated with her bodyguard, Climb. At that moment, I sat before this princess, who had a blank and emotionless look while she kneeled before me. As you are now, you're not worthy of joining Nazarick, so I wish to perfect you, I said calmly, stunning Renner, whose eyes widened, but she didn't dare to look up to look at me. Your weird outlook on life. It's beautiful in my opinion. The one flaw is that you try so hard to be something you're not. You would never be human, you're what those humans would call a monster. I said calmly, taking a sip of the tea. When you truly join me, I wish to reincarnate you into something new, free from the chains your human body places on you. But we need to kill that final strands of humanity you so foolishly hold on to. I said lightly while tapping the table with a finger. I can just tell it to die. But I rather you do personal growth on your own. I rather you come to accept the fact you were a monster born in a human body. And don't worry, I'm not one to force others. You can remain just the way you are, although you would not truly join Nazarick. Instead, you would have your wishes fulfilled once this kingdom is taken over and nothing more. I said while getting up to leave. Take some time to sleep over this, I will come back next week to hear your answer, I said calmly. I will kill it, Renner said, causing me to pause. I turned to look at her in shock, not expecting she would kill her pet dog. After all, it was that dog that pushed her to be the ideal princess. It was that dog that pushed her to try and be more human, all because she was in love with that dog's eyes. Why so? I asked with an interested look. Renner looked me straight in the eyes and spoke. All my life. You and the people of Nazarick were the only ones to ever understand me. I'd rather be amongst people who view the real me as one of their own, than have to put on an act all my life. Renner said, to which I smiled. But was her choice shocking? Of course, it wasn't shocking if you thought about it. Ever since Renner's birth, her intelligence, observational skills, comprehension, creativity, leadership, and every other aspect concerning rulership were overdeveloped. Possessing advanced intellect, Renner found herself unable to relate to others. The fact that nobody really understood what she said had a huge effect on her mental development and slowly twisted the girl over time until she befriended a young orphan boy who hung on her every word. That orphan boy, also her pet, is the main reason she isn't more twisted than she should be. She tried to be the ideal princess because she fell in love with its eyes. Now, would you rather act as something else, or be free and happy amongst people who accept you for being yourself? She wanted to be free and happy amongst those who accepted her for who she was and could understand her thinking. 2 comments 0 vote.